Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am attorney Michael Eline, and I am an attorney licensed in California and Texas. Just had a little bit of a sound issue at the very beginning there. As most of you know, I am an attorney licensed in California and Texas. And man, that bums me out about the sound. I hate it when that happens because when I edit it, I lose my chat feature when I do the edit. But I'm still gonna edit it because I want people to be able to watch the live stream afterwards and not think that there's no sound. But anyways, yeah, thanks, Age Go. I appreciate it, brother, because otherwise I would have had no clue. And I hate that. Like I had one where I was going like 5 minutes and there was no sound. And man, what a bummer that sometimes it happens. It's the StreamYard, man. It just will automatically mute me. I hate it. It's just such a bummer. So I had a pretty rough day today. I've been up. Yeah, I know, Age Go. This is the technology. And I'm an old guy now. So I've been up super early. You can see I got a little bit more than a 5 o'clock shadow today. But I'm going to have a really cool show for you. And I didn't have enough material to just make it about battery and snatching, right? So a battery is a harmful and offensive contact, and there's a civil and there's a criminal version of battery. And I'm going to get into the definitions of what a battery is based on California law, as well as some general legal principles. But I've also got some cool videos that I'm going to share with you. One of them has to do with some old lady snatching their ID back from a cop at a movie theater, which is crazy, but we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk about all the different things that have been going on. And then we're going to get into some evidence planting videos about cops planting evidence illegally. And, then another couple things. We're going to talk a little bit about the P. Diddler and about sexual battery. And we're going to get into one of his lawsuits that just got thrown out. There was $100 million judgment. I know, Currency Brutus, right? Hey, what's going on, SWE Observer? Hey, I heard you guys are kicking out all those jihadis that your governments and the World Economic Forum, the inbred people from sub-Saharan Africa, that your government forced you guys to take in, that caused the RAPEs to go up over like 70 to 80% or higher. By some estimates, I've heard it was 400%, but your government refuses to allow the people to see the statistics because they don't want you to know. And that's another form of battery. So it's good seeing you, Swedish Observer. Hopefully you'll get all those inbred people out of your country. We know that in certain countries in this world, it's normal to have inbreeding, and it's very common in sub-Saharan Africa. And they say that they have the average intelligence of about a -60 on the IQ scale. So it always makes you wonder, why would they be flooding your country with these people? Well, low information voters, give them a free check, give them a free phone, give them a free hotel. And they're going to always vote for the party that gives them your money. And we know that the government hates critical thinkers, as evidenced by the public school systems and how they keep dumbing down the curriculum and instead focus on forcing sexuality on children and trying to convince boys they're girls and girls that they're boys and all that stuff. So that's always crazy, right? But as you guys may or may not know, I am Swedish and Norwegian by heritage, but I am 100% Yankee Doodle Dandy American. I'm an inactive U.S. Marine, and my father was a Marine before me. My father served in Vietnam 2 tours. He volunteered to go back for a second tour. And he died from exposure to Agent Orange. And as we now know, our government lied to us about the Gulf of Tonkin. We know that never happened. It was total bullshit. And we know that almost every war we've been into has pretty much been based on a lie, and then it's been covered up. We know the CIA still is refusing to release the records about what happened to JFK, which makes a lot of people think it probably was the CIA that had him killed because he was trying to kick out the banksters and regain control of our currency. And we see now that the World Economic Forum sort of picked up where his murderers left off, trying to take over the world and trying to flood our country with military-age males. A lot of them come from countries who hate us. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to get into the definition of what a battery is. And a lot of people don't understand what snatching is. So before I get too far into the show, I'm going to kick off the program with my normal salutation, and then we'll get into the show. To another edition of Ask Michael Eline. This is where I teach people the law in an unorthodox manner by using examples that we see in the news, case law briefs, but it's all about exposing the Leviathan and its instrumentalities and taking back your rights. Know the law and mean to keep it well. Come here to learn from an expert to know your right. Make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. So as you guys know, this is an interactive show. So I have my friends in the sidebar. We got Age Go. What's the matter, you? Good seeing you guys. Kurt Bronson, as always, thanks for joining me, brother. And then, of course, Swedish Observer, super happy to have you here. Hej då, jag älskar dig, ja. Jag talar inte svenska. And let me see here. What else can I find here? Currency Brutus, you look new to me, but I love having you here. And I've been posting a lot of cool memes in my community posts for you guys to check out and enjoy. And most people know that you don't have to support your government to love your country, all right? And I don't consider myself to be anti-government at all. I want you to understand that. I am anti-alphabet agency. I don't think that bureaucrats should have the kind of power that they have. The servant should never become the master. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree with me. The servant should never have been allowed to become the master. And we notice that since Barry Soetoro left office, that he left a lot of his leave behind woke activists in the ABC agencies like Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and we know that they've been up to their shenanigans trying to take down the Orange Man and lying and saying it's Russian disinfo. All the stuff has been disproven. The whole Hunter Biden laptop, at least 40 CIA high-level officials lied and said that it was Russian disinformation when they knew that it wasn't. They knew the Hunter Biden laptop was real the whole time. And we know that the Communist News Network, CNN or PMSNBC, ABC, all the leftist news stations lied and covered for them as well. And the fact checkers always lie, and they'll come up with something in your story that your story doesn't even say, and say that your story's false, and they'll use that as a basis to censor you or cancel your social media accounts. And especially if it has to do with, these things that could potentially kill you. So these are things that my audience likes to learn about. And I always try to go against the grain because, again, I love my country, but right now I certainly do not love my government. What they've been allowed to get away with, in my opinion, is nothing short of treason, opening up our southern border and flooding us with criminals from third world countries, causing all kinds of calamity and getting free everything while they're shutting out American citizens. I think that is totally wrong and treasonous. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me. And make sure to double tap the screen today, guys, because I'm in vertical mode, and I do vertical mode because I want to reach out to the youth because they need to understand what's going on. And most of the youth aren't using horizontal. They're using vertical because that's what they're used to with TikTok. So don't hate me for doing that, but just double tap the screen to give me some likes. Typically, I'll get between 30,000 to 100,000 views with just a couple of likes because people don't understand they need to double tap that screen. So double tap that like and subscribe button. All right. And so today we're going to get into, again, what is snatching and why is snatching a battery and how it looks, what snatching is. Most people don't understand if you snatch something out of someone's hand, that's actually a battery, and that can be a criminal or a civil offense. And that's another reason why I believe that you should sort of follow Chile de Castro's model. When you show out your ID, that you push it up against the window and don't hand it to him, because a corrupt officer, when he hands you your license, could lie and say that you snatched it from them. And so you need to be very, very careful, guys, because I've represented many clients who have had the same exact kind of problem happen. And so we know it goes on. I personally was falsely arrested in West Covina by a West Covina cop named Millicent, who was going through a divorce with his wife back in like the 2000s or the 90s, and over a parking ticket because I was loading my truck in front of a Bally's Total Fitness where I was the corporate wellness manager, getting ready to go to a mall show. So the vehicle was not unattended, and I was loading the vehicle, and pursuant to the vehicle code, I was in the right and I was allowed to do that. So I wanted to argue roadside justice with this thug and ask him for his ID, got in my car. He immediately tried to pull me out through the window and started boxing my ears and trying to hurt me. So I have no love for corrupt cops, and I've had a really hard time finding an honest one. Typically, the honest ones are the whistleblowers who are hated by the police. And the difference between a police officer snitching on bad cops and maybe a gang member or a prison gang member snitching on his fellow prisoners is that the police took an oath to uphold the Constitution, and that their oath should stand for the Constitution before each other. And this whole thin blue line thing is a bunch of nonsense. People should stand tall for the Constitution and put each other first over these jackboot thugs. And so really quickly, one thing that I want to share with you is a lot of my audience, they're curious about the fact that I became a lawyer prior to getting a law degree and with no undergrad. And so one of the ways that you can learn the law is I found when I was studying for the bar, I got these books online. So this is the Barbary Bar Review books, and it's got all the case, all the stuff that you need to know to learn about the black letter law, from criminal procedure to your contract law, everything. It's just all there. And so I recommend you guys, if you're really interested about learning the basics, not your state, but just the basics, these are great books. You can pick them up for like 20, 30 bucks used on the internet. So that's one way for you guys to get up to speed and learn the law. And then for those of you who want to learn about my journey to becoming a lawyer, a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, and again, I did get a law degree after I was already a practicing member of the bar. This is a softcover version of the digital book that I sell online for $19.99. You can go to my YouTube home channel and Michael Eline, the YouTube home channel at Michael Eline, and go to the description and click on it, drop it down and go to the PayPal link, and you can buy a digital version of this book for $19.99. And it explains my journey of how I became a lawyer, how I found lawyers to study under, how I tried 3 cases to a jury as a certified law student, and how I learned all my practical application of law by working for lawyers, and how I ended up becoming an extern for the California Court of Appeal and ended up becoming an appellate lawyer, then working at the city attorney's office in the criminal prosecution division, opposing the 1538.5 motions, and the journey that I took and how you too could do something similar, because what the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. And I want all of you guys to know that I believe in you. And no matter what your IQ is, you can still improve yourself with hard work and training and rote memorization and practical application. So just remember that. So there is some rote memorization that you have to be a good lawyer. I happen to have almost a photographic memory, and I'm able to memorize case law and stuff like that. Or at least I was until I was getting too old. I'm getting older now. I'm losing some of that ability. But I want you all, and yes, Salty Bucka, I recognize that I need physical copies of the book as well. The problem is this particular book, this softcover, just for me to get this to a publisher, just to have this made, it was like costing me like almost 20 bucks a unit. And so there's just, I want to bring stuff to you guys for like 19, 20 bucks. I don't want to be selling stuff for 50, 60 bucks. I know most of my audience, they're struggling anyways. I mean, this economy is horrible. Under the Biden-Harris economy, the only people who are making money are criminals and illegal aliens, which I don't think there's much of a difference. But people like us, we're the ones who are getting screwed. So I want to try to bring something to you for a reasonable price. And I think $19.99 to learn about how to become a lawyer with no law degree, how I did it. And I also discussed the different states that offer similar programs. I think it's a buy, it's a value. And, and if not, you can always give me a super chat. I'll always put you guys to the front of the line to answer any questions or, one of those kind of deals. Buy memberships for your friends on my channel. Do that kind of stuff. But please do something to support the channel, because I do have a day job and I volunteer my time to come here and help you guys. So I'm not asking you or demanding that you donate or contribute, but certainly by purchasing a copy of my book, you're not just donating, you're actually getting something in return besides my time that I'm donating here. So it's more like an honorarium. If you're helping me, it really motivates me more because, I have a wife and kids, and my wife doesn't really like it that I'm on here for hours and hours every night. And sometimes I like to take my son to judo class, but she's been stepping in for me to be able to be here for you guys. So keep that in mind. It's a family effort. So any support that you can give my channel, telling your friends, sharing, making sure to press that save button as well, that little square where you press save to favorites, that really helps a lot. So really quickly, I'm going to just really quickly, I'm going to take a look over here. So I'm going to go ahead and just share with you guys, before we get into the different types of battery and the videos that I'm going to share with you today, I'm going to teach you what the difference is between a civil and a criminal battery in California. So I'm going to be looking over at my notes. So don't hate on me for not staring right at the camera. All right, guys. So in California, the difference between civil and criminal battery lies in the nature of the legal action. I'm talking about California because, again, I'm licensed in California and Texas, but I grew up in California, and I actually had a battery committed against me by a bad cop in California, and I won 30 grand against that cop, 29,999, after I was falsely arrested and charged with a 148, which is what cops always charge people with when they violate their rights. Because what they'll do, they'll beat the crap out of you illegally and unlawfully, and then charge you with resisting, obstructing, delaying an officer in the performance of their duties, so you can't sue them. And they'll try to get you prosecuted, and you'll have to spend, like, I think I spent almost $5,000 having to defend myself against a bogus bullshit charge. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that, right? So it's not just about winning your case. It's, can you afford to fight it? Can you afford to fight that violation? So for me, I had a lot of luck because I was an honorably and am an honorably discharged United States Marine, and the judge wasn't buying it. The judge was not buying it. She knew that I was a legit squared away dude. And that case got thrown out. And ultimately I brought an action for civil rights violations, including battery. And so today we're going to talk about battery, but we're going to talk about a subsection of battery, which has to do with snatching. And so snatching would have to do with, like, snatching something out of someone's hand. That's actually a battery, guys. But let me just give you the definitions, and then we'll get into the videos, and I'll do some lawyer breakdown so you guys can understand what's going on. So in California, the difference between civil and criminal battery lies in the nature of the legal action, the parties involved, the burden of proof, and the outcomes. In a criminal battery, it's going to be under California Penal Code Section 242. And that's defined as any willful or unlawful use of force or violence upon the person of another. This does not require the victim sustains an injury. Even slight contact can be enough to constitute a battery if done in a harmful and offensive manner. So let me kind of throw something out at you. Typical brushing up against someone in an elevator, or, you know, tapping someone on the arm, that's typically not going to be a battery unless it's done to offend someone or harm someone. Okay, I hope you understand that. Like groping is clearly a battery. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand so far. I need to understand that. I need to know that you guys understand and that I'm doing a good job teaching. Because if you go to a law school, they're going to charge you $100,000 a year to teach you this crap, and I'm teaching it to you for zero. Now, the parties involved, the state prosecutor typically will prosecute the individual alleged to have committed the battery, and it's the state against the defendant. So there's one big difference between a civil case and a case involving a crime. So the people of the state of California, or you insert your state, right? People of the state of Texas, people of the state of Oklahoma, right? It would be a prosecutor who prosecutes you on behalf of the people, on behalf of we the people, right? So it's a crime against the state. And the burden of proof, it must be beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant committed the act. And so it's different in a civil case. In a civil case, it's going to be based on a preponderance of the evidence. So the best way that I could show you would be, like, let me remember from one of my jury trials how I would do this in voir dire. So in a preponderance of the evidence case, the scale only needs to tilt about that much in your favor. And that should be enough for you to win that civil case. But in a criminal case, the beyond a reasonable doubt standard, woo, it's got to be big. So the scale's really got to tip heavy duty. You guys get it so far? All right. Hope you do. So that's the reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt standard, and that the defendant committed the act. Now, some states call the defendant the accused. Other states call the defendant the defendant. So just so you know, there are some differences and variances between states. Now, the outcomes. Penalties can range from misdemeanor to felony charges depending on the circumstances. For example, if you use a weapon in California, that's almost always going to be charged as a felony, unless, of course, you're a member of the political class. Then you probably are going to get it reduced to a misdemeanor, or nothing will happen to you at all. You just pick up the phone and call your buddy Gavin Newsom, and he'll probably find a way, just like the way they didn't wear masks during their bullshit lockdowns, and or they don't even have to take these. They can just get a waiver. Now we know that a lot of politicians were issued waivers all around the world, so they didn't have to do this while they forced you to do it. So, and we'll do that in another show. It's just, we'll probably have to do it on Twitter, because if we talk about it here, we'll get banned, because the World Health Organization has a monopoly on YouTube and Google. And so if you say anything bad about their guy, like Bill Gates or whatever, they'll try to take you out. So outcomes, penalties can range, like I said, from misdemeanors to felony charges. And of course, if there's a weapon, it's going to be a greater type of a violation. Penalties can also include fines or probation or restitution. Now, restitution is something that I do quite a bit. For example, if a drunk driver hits one of my clients and wipes out their car and causes serious injuries to them, usually those drunks don't have a lot of insurance or they don't have any. And so the only way as a criminal defense attorney, in this case as a personal injury attorney representing the victim, I'm able to get money from these guys is to get the court involved and to tell the judge, Your Honor, this dude's got a job. I think we can make a deal. Rather than lock him up, let me garnish his wages or get some money from his wealthy parents. And then that way, I would rather have him paying his debt to my client than just being locked up in a jail. I hope this is making sense to you guys so far. So I would bring my client in for a victim's witness impact statement, and then I would work with the prosecutor as well as the defense attorney to work out a plea deal with this person, this criminal, to get money for my client since he couldn't get it from insurance. Hope that makes sense. So that's something that you should think about when you hire a personal injury attorney. Most of these guys aren't that good guys. Most of the lawyers I've met in Nevada I give them about a 1 on a 1 to 10. Crummy lawyers. My goodness, just awful. Nothing compared to what you would find in California. That's one thing I can say about California is we have probably the premier best personal injury attorneys in the world. And I count myself among them. I have been tutored under the best personal injury attorneys in the world. Gary Dordick, Otto Hazelhoff, Dave Olin, Mike Alder, like the best guys that you could ever run across. I've had the opportunity. I worked for them sometimes for free as a volunteer just to get the experience. And that's what I recommend you do. If you do end up getting my book about my journey to becoming a practicing lawyer with no law degree or undergrad, I recommend that you follow that same approach. Always volunteer time. Don't expect to get paid. If someone's willing to teach you and they've got something to offer, don't act like some commie lefty and think that you deserve to be paid. No, they're doing you a favor by taking that time to teach you. So just remember that. Be more like a Marine and be gung-ho about it and learn. And those people will in turn respect you because you recognize that they were doing you a favor. Give me a bunch of ones if you understand that. Now, typically, the penalties can include jail time, fines, probation, or restitution, and severe penalties for aggravated forms of battery up to capital punishment. But we know in California, even though they have it, people aren't usually getting executed in California. Now, the purpose is to punish the offender, protect society, and sometimes rehabilitate. That would be a criminal battery. Now, civil battery is a little bit different. In civil law, battery is similarly defined, but it focuses on the harm or injury to the victim as opposed to the state, often seen as an intentional tort. Here, the act must result in harm or offensive contact, just like a criminal battery. The parties involved, the victim is going to be you or your client, the plaintiff, if you're a lawyer. The plaintiff sues the person who committed the battery, the defendant, for damages. Now, let me share something else with you that you need to know. Insurance does not cover intentional acts. This is another problem that you have, right? So if you're in a car accident and you're claiming that the person intentionally hit your car, that gives the insurance company a basis to say, sorry, you're not getting any money because there's a public policy against paying someone for committing intentional acts. I mean, imagine a guy with the power and skill of Mike Tyson, who's a total lunatic, who could just get insurance and just beat the crap out of everybody he runs across in the street and have insurance cover it. So there's a public policy against covering people for intentional acts, right? With insurance. It ensures that they're personally responsible and no amount of insurance will cover them for an intentional act. Give me some ones if you agree and understand the idea and the concept. If you don't, put it in the sidebar and I'll explain further. Now, the outcomes, the aim is compensation. And of course, we know the burden of proof is lower because it's going to be the preponderance of the evidence standard, just a little bit, whereas criminal, again, it's going to be the beyond a reasonable doubt. So it's really got to be strong, heavy-duty evidence, totally different evidentiary standard. Think about that. So in a civil case for money, you've got a better opportunity at getting some kind of a result. Because we know in California, the Soros prosecutors just let people out of jail and they typically reoffend. And that's one of the ways the government's been putting out these bogus numbers saying that crime rates are down. They're just not prosecuting crimes. And they're raising the standard they're raising the offense. Like, for example, $900 for shoplifting before it's a felony. It used to be $500, but they raised it because they're letting all these criminals out of jail because they want to get the votes, right? Hey, let's let all the prisoners vote, right? So let's lower the crimes and lower the elements, lower the penalties, so it's easier for us to get votes from these criminals, right? And that's what they're doing. And they're literally, the DMV is literally registering illegal aliens to vote, and they're not telling them that it's a felony or it's a crime or an offense to vote. So most of these people from third world countries who are peasants just go ahead and vote. And who are they going to vote for? The politician who gives them free things at your expense. So let's get back into this. The aim is compensation, not punishment. Now, in serious cases, there could be punishment, but that would be punitive damages, and that's going to require clear and convincing evidence. Now, clear and convincing evidence is going to have closer to the beyond a reasonable doubt standard in criminal, right? It's sort of like right in the middle of criminal and preponderance. It's like right in there, right? So it's harder to get punitive damages, much harder. And the same goes for civil fraud. You'll have to also argue clear and convincing evidence, much more difficult burden to meet. And you also have to plead facts in your initial pleading in order to do that. So much more difficult. Think about that. Now, typically your monetary compensation is going to be based on medical expenses, right? That's called your special damages. So you've got two types of damages. You got special damages and general damages. General damages would include things like pain and suffering. Special damages would include things like lost wages, right? Your lost wages and your medical bills. That would be like your economic losses, okay? And it could also include emotional distress. Emotional distress damages could come into play depending on the severity of the civil penalty. And then there's no imprisonment, but there could be injunctions and restraining orders. Now, I have a case against a landlord that I'm going to have to file, against my landlord that I'm going to have to file, because I decided not to buy because I thought that this economy would have already crashed by now and I could have swooped up something for dirt cheap, which is probably still going to happen. But after Camel Toe gets elected, then the economy will collapse. So right now, because of that, I can seek an injunction for my landlord harassing me and sending, potential buyers to the house all the time and trying to prevent me from quietly enjoying my residence, right? And violating my right to fitness for the particular use that it was rented for. And I can seek an injunction or what would be called a restraining order, depending on the state that you live in. Typically in California, a restraining order will be for a crime. And there's different types of injunctions, which we'll get into in another show. And the purpose is obviously to provide a remedy for compensation. Now, the key differences, again, are going to be both require intent, but a civil battery is going to focus more on the harm rather than the act itself. And then there could be a double jeopardy issue with crimes, but a person can be both criminally prosecuted and civilly sued for the same act without a double jeopardy applying. So you can keep that in mind. A lot of people think, well, you can't sue me and get a crime against me. No, that's not true. There is no double jeopardy. I can go after you for both. Now, the jury and the judge. In a criminal case, the outcome impact. In a criminal conviction, it can lead to a criminal record, which affects employment, housing, and other rights, whereas civil judgments primarily affect financial status, right? So hopefully you understand the differences. But in a criminal case, if there is a fine issued, here's why I like criminal restitution when I'm trying to recover from someone who's caused harm to my client. The judge can issue a ruling saying, if you miss one payment, you're going to the slammer. So I have the force of the judge saying, if they don't pay me or my client, they're going to jail. So typically they always pay because nobody wants to spend time in jail. Now, there are also different statutes of limitations between civil and criminal actions. Typically in California, the statute of limitations for a civil battery is going to be about 2 years. Now, for criminal battery, it's going to be different. We know for a felony murder, which is also a form of battery, that's going to be something that could last forever, no statute. So that's something to think about. So understanding the differences is crucial for anyone involved or in contemplating any kind of legal action. So now we're going to get into why I came here today and what I wanted to share with y'all. But before we do that, I want to say hi to everybody again for all the latecomers. Roger Lane, good seeing you, man. And let me see here. Midwest Andrew, you don't need a college degree to become a lawyer in some states. I didn't need one. I had no undergrad. Having a very high IQ was beneficial to me. I inherited that from my mother, probably. And then the common sense that I inherited from my father about being willing to sacrifice in order to get ahead. But you can learn that from getting a good mentor. You don't even need parents. If you have a good mentor, somebody like me to study under, I think you'll be all right. Yeah, right on, Roger. You too, brother. Hey, good seeing you, Jeff. Roger, I need to get you something real quick here. Roger Lane, everybody give Roger Lane a bunch of thumbs up and a bunch of ones. Roger Lane is now officially a moderator of my channel. So he's earned it. And then Haley Boo gotta go. Hopefully catch you next live. Okay, Haley. Well, I'm glad you showed up for the short time that you did, and you can always come back and watch the show later. And I love having you here, and I appreciate you joining me. Right on, Age Go. So give me a bunch of ones again for Roger for showing up. And if anybody has the ability to get some memberships for my channel, go ahead and shoot a couple of them out so we can get some people that can become members for the back channel. And then Roger Lane says 24 hours from all of YouTube or just a channel. And in California and Texas, Just Willie says, what's the statute of limitations to file a lawsuit against a officer who made false allegations? Well, that's a interesting question, Just Willie, because typically, make an officer making a false allegation civilly sounds more like it would be a libel or slander type of an issue, depending on whether or not it was written or spoken. And the problem with defamation claims is I'm an expert at defamation claims. So if somebody tries to sue me for defamation, whether they're in Nevada or some other state, I will destroy them because I understand I treat that as a strategic lawsuit against public participation, right? So the First Amendment comes into play. Very difficult to get someone for defamation. And if you lose, you're paying. So if somebody wants to sue me for defamation, I'm coming after them for attorney's fees. And I guarantee you, I'm the kind of guy that will not sleep for 3 days, and I will win that case because I'm a freaking animal. Now, let me see here. Yeah, make sure to catch the lives, Roger, whenever you can. What's up, 10th man? Era. And all right, so let's get in now to a little bit more about the show, and let's start off with what is a battery. We know what a battery is, but now let's talk about snatching. Okay, snatching is a big deal. A lot of people don't understand when they're dealing with a crappy cop and the cop hands them their driver's license back. If they're pissed off and they snatch that license back, they're going to jail. That's a battery. And if you have a shitty cop and you're a good person and that cop just doesn't like you, they're going to use any excuse they can to arrest you because they're power trippers. And we all know that, right? We all know that. Give me a bunch of ones if you know that. The vast majority of law enforcement officers in this society that you run into are going to be power trippers. You have to assume that they are because they're taught to think that in the academy, that they have to gain control over you. That is their primary goal, to gain control and to prove that they're the boss. And if you don't let them do that, they get very offended. And then they want to come up with a way to charge you with something falsely. And they know that if they can get you on enough charges, it's impossible for you to afford an attorney to fight them. And so that's the big problem. You're right, Age Go. 1 million. Thank you, brother. And again, I want to thank all my audience. These are really good people, guys. I want you to always remember to subscribe to all the people in my sidebar. Subscribe to their channels. They're good people. And double tap that screen, guys. Okay. So in the double tapping that screen is a like when you're in vertical. If you're in horizontal mode, you can just click the little like finger or whatever. But when you're in vertical, the only way people are going to know that you liked this video is if you double tap the screen. That's how it works, or you click it twice with your mouse if that's the case. So this first video, it's kind of, it's on X, so it's really small. I couldn't get it to open up anymore, but I just want you to see an example. I want you to see an example of a battery by snatching. All right. And this is typical with old people, by the way, guys. They're coming onset of dementia or Alzheimer's, especially old guys, but old ladies too, because they've gone through menopause or perimenopause. They've got all these hormone issues. That's why there's such a high divorce rate, right? When they get to that age, they just bail on each other. They don't understand that God made them to physiologically, that they're changing, and that's just the way it is. So you husbands especially, you have to honor your wives, and you wives have to understand your men are going to get an attitude problem, and you guys have to work it out. Otherwise, your children are the ones who are going to suffer. Give me a bunch of ones if you believe in that philosophy that you should, it's for better or for worse. Give me a bunch of ones if there's anybody in this audience who still believes in honor. Hey, what's up, BZ Watchdog? Dude, I don't have the video up right now, but BZ, what I'll do, BZ, is I'll do the show us your papers video when I share a little bit longer of a YouTube video so I can pull up the link, because I just don't want to do it right now while I'm on a roll. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that I'm rolling on mollies. I mean, I'm on a roll. Like I've got a little system down and I want to stay focused. But as you guys know, BZ Watchdog, I consider him to be a partner. I consider him to be a good friend. He is also a former United States Marine, inactive U.S. Marine like me. And we work together holding government accountable. And BZ Watchdog, in my opinion, is one of the very best non-attorneys, actually better than most attorneys I've met, at doing public records requests. And public records requests are one of the greatest ways to hold the government accountable, by getting that information that they refuse to share with the public and exposing their lies and deceit. And because it's not necessarily the government. Thank you, Roger. I got a super chat. Woohoo! So guys, I got to throw this up there. Let's throw it up there real quick. So I got a $10 super chat from Roger Lane. That means that I can almost afford a hamburger at Burger King. Because you know that the tax man at YouTube is going to take a couple bucks out of that. That's why I always encourage you guys to get a copy of my book by going to my YouTube homepage. It's unfortunately all I have is the digital version right now. The digital version I'm selling for $19.99. This thing would price out at about 40 to 50 bucks. So get the digital version of my book about how I became a lawyer with no law degree and how you can do it too. And learn a little bit about my journey from being an honorably discharged disabled Marine into become a business owner, and then ultimately becoming a lawyer. And you learn a little bit about me by getting that book. And Roger, thank you so much, man. And now Roger says, let's take a look at what Roger's got to say. Roger, hold on, Raj. Good times. Is it good times or what's happening? Roger says, thank you for giving us so much of your time. Well, I appreciate that, brother, but thank you for supporting me, because it motivates me to come back and do a better job next time. But again, make sure to like and subscribe to BZ Watchdog's channel. Subscribe to him. He's got some really great videos. Now, I don't see Brick Jonesy today, but Brick Jonesy and BZ worked with me hand in fist to support Chili DeCastro while he was illegally and unlawfully deprived of his life, liberty, and property while the Clark County Detention Center kept him locked up. And so I want you guys to remember that some people talk, some people complain, and other people do. And in particular, United States Marines, whether they're inactive or active, we're doers. And you join the Army, you join the Air Force, you join the Coast Guard, right? You join the Navy, but you become a United States Marine. And we carry that with us like a badge of honor wherever we go. And we're serious. We're serious individuals. I'm still a Marine inside of here and inside of here. I'm still a jarhead. And so I'm here and I'm devoted to the patriotic Constitution that I served. And now I want to get into this next video and stop talking about all this other stuff and move on. So let me just get the sound up. Let's look at these crazy old ladies and see what happens.
Okay. I would like them trespass. Okay. They said some racist remarks to the whole theater. I don't want them to come back.
Okay, sounds good. You have your IDs on you, man? So what the manager asked me to do is to give you guys a trespass warning. Basically, nothing criminal. It's just saying that you guys understand that you guys can't come back here. Okay?
No, it's not okay, sir. We're
both. Listen, you don't have a say. This business can do whatever they want. Okay?
We're innocent until proven guilty. That's the country I live in.
I never charge you with a crime.
I can't come back.
That's correct. You're being trespassed.
He owes us a refund for the movie.
Okay.
If
well, that is up to the manager. I can't force him to do the refund and whatever. You'll have to sue him. It's all civil. Nothing criminal there.
You don't need these.
Don't snatch.
Don't you?
Don't snatch.
Take your hands off.
Police brutality!
Hands
Police
off.
brutality!
Let go of the ID.
police brutality.
You're gonna
Let
go
go
to
of me.
you're gonna go to jail for resisting. How about that?
Resisting what?
You just turned a non-criminal act into a criminal
No, I
act.
didn't.
Yes, you did.
Really? I'll be filing a complaint against you. What is your
You're
name?
going to jail for resisting. Do you understand that? Stand up.
Resisting what?
Stand up
No,
now.
let me show it to your hand.
Stand up. You're going to jail for resisting arrest. Do you understand?
Resisting arrest for what?
Stand
I
up.
said resisting?
You snatched
Take a
something
picture.
from me. Everything is being audio and video
Snatching.
recorded. Do you understand?
Let go of me.
Turn around. Put your hands behind
Oof.
Let go.
Oh,
Brutality.
God.
Brutality.
Get on
Police
your belly.
brutality.
That is
Get on
police
your belly
brutality.
now.
You are way
Get
out of
on your
line.
He is out of line.
belly now.
You are way out of line.
Say what you want.
God, that makes me sick. That could be your mother, you know? Like,
Stay on your belly, please.
I can't breathe.
Let me fix your cuffs so they don't tighten up on you.
yeah, I can't wait to start responding to your comments.
Unbelievable. Which is your strong leg? That's your
I
strong
really
leg?
don't
I
care.
guess.
Well, then let me teach you how to get up. Put your leg out. When I help you, you're going to roll onto this leg, okay? And you're going to stand yourself up. Do you understand?
Yes.
Let's go. Have a seat. Like I said, everything is audio and video recorded. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, so when you snatched your ID away from me, do you understand you committed a crime?
No.
Okay.
Good for
You're
her.
going to jail for resisting. Okay. Do you want to play the same game? Please have a seat.
I'm gonna get my stuff off the floor, please.
Come in.
All right, so let's talk about that. So it's true. She snatched that out of his hand. And that's what I was trying to tell you guys. That's why you don't want to hand your license to a cop or have the cop take your license from you or return it to you if he's got a bad attitude. If the cop's got your license, I would tell him, slide it through the window and let go of it. I'm not touching it. That would be my approach. All right. But in this particular case, yes, that woman did commit a battery. That was called snatching. But here's the problem. There's also such thing as justice and exceeding the use of force. That cop was an asshole. And what he did to her, in my opinion, was exceeding the use of force. He should not have done that to her. A gentleman, like a Marine, would have never done that. I'm telling you right now, a military police Marine would have never done that. In fact, if it was me and I was in a similar situation, I would have just helped her. I would have escorted her out of the thing and just let her go. There's such a thing as doing justice. The police are basically in the position of a roadside magistrate. They have the ability to arrest or not arrest. And so in this particular instance, there's a human element to law enforcement. And these modern police officers, as evidenced by what this guy just did, is totally inappropriate. He exceeded the necessary use of force against that old lady. He knew better. He knew what he was doing, and he made a fool of himself. Now, in my opinion, that officer has no place in law enforcement, and he should be fired. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with me. Despite the fact that she committed a battery, you also have to weigh the circumstances, right? You have to be an objectively reasonable officer, and he was not being reasonable. Rakib Hawk, to subscribe to Chili, what you need to do is go to Delete Laws 1984. Delete Laws 1984, and go ahead and subscribe to him. Now, Salty Buckeye says he had no right to ID her in the first place. And look, I agree with you. There was no legal basis for him to ID her. in my opinion. Now it depends. Now some states are stop and ID. They might have the authority to do that, but there was no point in it. It's just a way to gain control and prove that you're the boss. But when you're doing it with an old lady, come on, guys. We know that they're going through dementia and Alzheimer's, and you know they have a lot of issues. Like my mom and I, sometimes we don't get along. You know, it's just the way it is. But you also have to you got to think about the bigger picture, man. We're getting older, and even me, like I'm having problems with anger as I get older. When I see stuff like that, I want to start putting rounds down range. It makes me disgusted. Yes, what's the matter? You says I can never bring myself to do that. And Alan Hubbs, too big of an ego to let it go. That's right, Alan. That is exactly right. And why can we not take back the authority we give them? Says Samuel Hoffman. Well, in my mind, we didn't give them that authority. They took an oath to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And part of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, it's implied that you'll do justice. And equity doesn't mean equality like these commie woke religious freaks are saying. Equity is like Christ's law of equity, of doing justice, of doing what's fair and reasonable in the circumstance. And what he did to her by twisting her arm, he could have easily broken her arm or pulled her shoulder out of socket. Old ladies already have a problem with low calcium. We know that their bones break easily. They get brittle. And she has a son, probably. She probably has a husband, or maybe she lost her husband. You know, it's terrible that these guys are able to get away with this kind of crap. It just made me absolutely sick. It's totally dehumanizing. And especially to do that to a woman. You just don't put your hands on a lady. I'm sorry, guys. You don't put your hands on a lady. I mean, if she's not a lady, look, that was a lady. She did not do anything wrong other than snatch her license back. And that is a battery. And that gave him the authority to do what he did in terms of making an arrest. But exceeding the use of force is where I draw the line. That was inappropriate. It was unacceptable. You're right, Alan Hubbs. It makes me furious. Seeing that again for like the third time, I still cringe. All right. So that's an example of snatching. Okay. Now we're going to see another example of snatching, because I like sharing this stuff with you guys. Because look, a lot of you guys don't know that if you snatch your license back from a cop, that gives them a valid reason to arrest you for a battery. It's crazy. Harmful and offensive contact. That's right, Kurt Bronson. Thumbs up to you too, brother. You must be related to Chuck Bronson, because you always hit on the right stuff, Kurt. I love it. That's right, Age Go. Elderly women, their bones break more easily than male bones. Absolutely. Women and men are totally different. It's physically impossible for a man to become a woman or for a woman to become a man. Now, in the world of fantasy that they teach you at public schools and woke college campuses, they believe that men can become women. But try putting a bunch of trans women on an island for 100 years, and then try putting a bunch of men and women on another island for 100 years, and go back to those islands. All you're going to find on the island with the trans women are a bunch of bones. You're going to find a flourishing society on the island with males and females. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys have enough common sense to understand that. And 10th man, you're probably right. I just probably committed a hate crime for not going along with the Obama narrative. I mean, the leftist narrative. Now let's get into the next one, and this is a case with involving Kanye West, and this is a really interesting one. I've been wanting to share these videos with you for a while. It's only 21 seconds. Let's check it out. Make sure you got the sound, and here we go.
Y'all ain't gonna run up on me like that. If I say stop,
I wasn't running.
if I say it ain't running,
Oh,
I
listen,
wasn't
with
we're
your
running.
gonna go back.
cameras.
Give me a second,
I know.
guys. I didn't do the screen share. Bear with me. I am not the most technical lawyer in the world. Let's do it again. Here we go.
y'all ain't gonna run up on me like that. If I say stop,
I wasn't running.
if I say it ain't running,
I wasn't
stop with
running.
your cameras.
I know, but
Stop with
Kanye,
your
you're a
cameras.
celebrity.
Okay.
It's hard, man. Take the camera. Okay, I'm taking it off.
All right. So you can see that is a crime. That was a criminal battery and a civil battery. Typically that cop probably would not have tried to sue the old lady because there's no damages. That's the difference. So in a battery case, there has to be some kind of damages, right? Like emotional distress or some kind of physical harm. to be a civil battery, right? For a criminal battery, just a harmful and offensive contact, that's enough. So in this case, we know Kanye's rich. I think he got out of it like they always do. But the woman, I believe she did sue him. I'm not totally sure, but she definitely was within her rights to sue. And that was just terrible. And what is his problem, his constitutional rights asked? Well, the problem is that he is typical of today's privileged people in society. And again, privilege has nothing to do with skin color, and you're not born privileged. All right. I slept on park benches and I have white skin. And I know plenty of wealthy Black people who went to law school who were far more privileged than me. So that's just all nonsense. That's made up by the Marxist public school system and the Marxist woke university academia. It's BS. It's all nonsense. And that particular type of privilege is what a lot of celebrities think they have, and they generally do. It's a commerce-based system. If you can pay the referee, they can pay the court off, you'll get out of it, and you're done. And you're right, he is wild, Mr. Ernest Thompson, absolutely wild. Unless you're talking about me, and I'm guilty as charged. I am a wild guy. Because I'm not just a lawyer. I still have the Marine Corps value system, man. Do or die. Semper Fi, right, guys? Give me a bunch of ones for the Marine Corps, the last of the true military in this country, the last of the true military, the most similar thing that we have to the French Foreign Legion. The average Marine is 19 years old when they join. I mean, I had guys in my unit that were like 17 when I was in. The drinking age was 17, and we went to the E Club and got wasted when I was at Marine combat training as well as School of Infantry. When I went in, infantry 0311s had to do MCT as well as SOI. That was back in 89. And so I was there for a long time, and I got injured there. I never made it to the fleet, but it doesn't matter because all my friends are Marines or retired Navy SEALs. And those are the kind of people that I identify with. I don't hang out with most lawyers because I think they're softies, and they don't have the same sense of honor and integrity that I have, most of them. I'm sorry to say. I wish they did. I wish they did, because I put honor before the court. I put honor before anything. And that's what the Marine Corps brought to me and my Marine father brought to me. And so seeing this kind of stuff like what Kanye is doing just blows my mind. Now, as you guys know, I am a big fan of Chili DeCastro and his videos. Let me see if I can get this bad chicken up on the screen for you guys. I want to get the full effect going here. So as you know, Chili was falsely arrested and falsely imprisoned. And a second here. Hold on a minute. What the heck is going on here? Here we go.
Courtroom.
We're going to go ahead and rewind this a little bit. This is the Chili DeCastro video, and you're going to see a cell phone being snatched out of his hand by court personnel. And I still don't understand why Chili has not sued this bailiff, right? Because this is a battery. This is a battery. Okay, let's get into it. Let's watch. Breakdown that he's doing. I think it's really good. In fact, I'd venture to say that this guy would make a great lawyer. So let's go ahead and let him finish up here.
Record or live streams proceedings. So, Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones, or you can leave.
Americans have to know that nearly every courtroom across the land is a constitution-free zone. You have to disarm and you have to follow the court rules, which hardly ever line up with the Bill of Rights. Zimmerman demonstrates her disdain for Chili's rights and the rights of everybody else in the courtroom to personally record and act as press.
Okay, so let's get into that really quick. So I disagree on that one. A court, as we discussed yesterday, it's not a public forum. And as such, there are time, place, and manner restrictions on the type of speech that you can engage in. In fact, cameras are actually not allowed at the U.S. Supreme Court. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. I don't agree with any of them. I think that everything should be recorded because I think you can pick up demeanor and other things that you wouldn't pick up in an audio recording or in a writing. So I disagree with him there, but in principle, I agree with the thought that you're right. Absolutely. That, you want to have maximum speech. Amen.
Like Elon Musk says, right? You want to have a
Elon.
max. So
Elon Musk.
let's take a little bit more.
I
of a
like
look
this
at
lawyer. He's
this.
pretty good looking, huh? Give me a bunch of ones for that lawyer. He looks good.
She makes it clear that it's her courtroom. She's in control.
Well, it
She
is.
only allows certain people to record. Now here's the friction between Chili, the judge, and the court bailiff.
I need Mr. Castro to empty all of his pockets.
What's that?
Empty
Yeah, empty your pockets and give up your phones to the judge.
So the cop's acting like a drill. So hold on. The cop's acting like a drill instructor, right? He's acting like a tough guy. So naturally, that's going to get a guy like Chili upset. So let's go.
Chili could crush that guy with his pinky.
I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So,
You already are.
great.
You already are.
Awesome.
I'm not gonna get into this guy though. I'll get into someone else.
No, they're gonna go to my marshal.
Battery.
So you see that? Okay. So the bailiff literally snatched the phone out of his hand. And now the judge did say, no, it's going to go to my marshal. That's fine. But I don't think that it's lawful for him to snatch it out of Chili's hand. I think that's a battery. Put it in the comments. If you're a lawyer and you disagree, that's the beauty of law. It's an art. You practice it, right?
That's it. So that was an example of a battery in the courthouse. So I shared with you an example of a civilian snatching her ID out of a cop's hand, which is a battery. And now I've showed you an example of a cop snatching a phone out of a civilian's hand. That's also a battery. Now, cops typically have qualified immunity, so it's presumed a lawful act, but that is a battery. Now, I don't know what kind of a lawsuit Chili would have, but I believe that cop should have been charged with criminal battery. Unfortunately, since it's that courtroom and that particular judge, that probably would never happen. But if I was the attorney general, I would bring charges against that cop because it goes against, it destroys the public perception of law enforcement and public servants when judges and other people get away with that kind of stuff. He had no right to snatch that phone out of Chili's hand, in my opinion. Give me a bunch of ones if you guys agree. He was handing it to the prosecutor, right? All they had to do, instead of acting like jackboot thugs, is allow Chili to hand the phone to the people of the state of Nevada, and they could have turned it over to the court if necessary. Remember, the torch, prosecutorial power can be likened to a torch, all right? It goes from the officer who arrests you to the prosecutor and then ultimately to the judge. And Chili was following that same exact protocol that you would learn in a constitutional law class. I mean, there was nothing wrong with what Chili did. It was a power thing. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that was just a power thing to prove power. Now, which is really amazing because apparently that judge is married to the head of the Las Vegas ACLU. You would think that civil rights and decorum when it comes to standing up for we the people would be a little bit more appreciated by someone like that. I'm not going to say anything directly negative about the judge, but I think that her bailiff was out of line, and I think that he should have been disciplined at the very least for what he did. Now, the next one we're going to get into is a different kind of battery because I couldn't find a lot of snatching videos, but we'll just check this one out because you can learn that even just lightly grabbing someone can even be a battery. Let's check it out.
Jessica Garcia Stevens, seen here, resigned after facing charges of simple battery on a child. Today, 13 WMAZ obtained a copy of the arrest warrant that states Garcia Stevens is accused of grabbing, yanking, and dragging a 10-year-old boy out of a Heritage Elementary classroom. The report says the student had minor bruising and what looked like fingernail marks. Bibb Schools released a statement saying they received a report on May 16th and placed her on paid leave. She resigned 8 days
Double
later.
tap that screen,
The school
guys.
district says Garcia Stevens taught in Bibb Schools for a decade.
Double tap that screen. So you can kind of see that was a school teacher who grabbed a minor, and that's called the simple battery. So it's, it depends on the jurisdiction, aggravated battery, simple battery, but it's, basically there's different levels of battery. Like a real heavy duty battery could be, pounding someone in the head with a hammer, right? That could be an aggravated battery. Miss Constitutional Rights says, when I was hit in the head, they wouldn't press charges against the dude. Yeah, and that happens, and And if you like make a scene and paint yourself in their mind as a crazy person, it's less likely that they'll do anything to the officer. And that's why I always say, keep your mouth shut. Don't talk. Don't say anything, because anything you say, even furtive movements or facial expressions, are enough to get them to turn against you, and sometimes enough to convince a jury that you were the one in the wrong. Now let's check out this idea, this battery here. This is like a new thing going on right now. A lot of these criminals, especially in the UK, these illegals that they invite to live in their country and destroy it, are getting these e-bikes, and they're driving up to people real fast and snatching their phones. So here's another example of a battery, and this looks like actually London. Let's take a look.
And when we've looked at the bike, the rear hub is a 500 watt hub. So we can see there 500 watts. So we know that's illegal because it's over the 250 limit.
That's illegal.
To make matters worse, on the full setting, when you really look at the speedometer as well. Look at the speedometer. That is kilometres per hour.
So
we know weight on it is comfortably doing over 50 kilometres an hour, which is well over 30 miles an hour. So with him sat on it, you're looking at least sort of 25 to 30 miles an hour. And the brake on this one particularly, I'm putting the brake in, it's just about stopping it. I'll put it right in. 25 to 30 miles an hour. So this gentleman, there's a language barrier, but we can work pretty well these days with language line. So the officer has gone on to language line. So this gentleman is Spanish. We'll understand exactly.
And now for something completely different.
As is usual with these sort of things, we're trying our best not to make life difficult for these people by taking them to court, clogging up the court system. What we want to do is get this dangerous bike off the road. So we will seize it under 165 of the Road Traffic Act for no insurance, because he's basically turned it into a mechanically propelled vehicle, which you need a license for on the road. So it's seized under 165 of the Road Traffic Act, and it will be
destroyed. On a road track.
That's the paperwork we use to send these off to our pound. So anything here was being recovered from what we call Section 165 of the Road Traffic Act. Basically, no insurance to use it on the road.
Let's get the.
Should we get the monster out?
To be honest,
I'm going to go ahead and push it forward a little bit, because these Brits get me a little bored there, you know. Take a look at this, guys. I'm going to turn this sound down because you never know, right? But you get the idea. So these guys cruise around on these bikes, and they look for people who are on their phones because they're unlocked, right? They're talking on their phones, so they're unlocked. And they'll just snatch their phones. Let me see.
Shortly riding a 750 watt motor, which is what this is, on the road. 250 is the limit. 250 is the limit.
They got these super fast bikes. They're cruising around and snatching cell phones. They're getting all their bank data and you name it. They're getting it all, man.
You have to have the pedal setting. You have a setting that you can change so that you can.
See if we can find any other good stuff on there.
When we pressed it, when we first stopped him, it wasn't doing pedal assist, and he straight away went, "Oh no, I have to use the pedals." But there is a quick thing you can do on this to reset, to change it very quickly, so that you have to use the pedals.
All right, I don't want to bore you guys anymore with these guys. I get kind of burned out on these Brits, man. The way they just let foreigners come into their country and destroy it, and they don't even fight back. And the police support these foreigners instead of supporting their own people. It's ridiculous. Now, here's another example of a battery, which you might not think is a battery. You might think this is an attempted theft, and it is. But this is another example of a battery. Let's check it out. Let's make sure we got enough sound for you. Here we go. Trying to take his chain, you know what I'm saying? Trying to get that chain. Trying to get that chain.
Hey, leave this shit alone.
Gee. All right, so there's an example of a battery as well. So they try to pull his chain. Might even try to take his grill. You know what I'm saying? So there's an example of a battery as well. Now the deal is those two people that were trying to steal his chain, they probably don't have any money, and that's why they're trying to steal his chain. So I doubt that case would go anywhere. But if there were law enforcement personnel there, they would have the authority to make an arrest for a battery, as well as attempted theft. So just to give you an idea, that's still a battery, guys. I'm trying to show you examples of what a battery is. All right. Now let's move on to a different type of battery. Because the diddler is all over the news, so I thought I'd share something with you about the diddler. So let's make sure we got enough sound on this bad chicken, as Chili DeCastro would say, and let's get into it.
As a hater, this pisses me off. Like, as a 100% certified Diddy hater, I'm really mad about this. So the dude who sued Diddy from prison for taking his pussy like 20 years ago and got $100 million off that leather Cheerio, yeah, the judge just threw that case out. This is the dude, Derek Lee Cardello Smith. He ugly as sin, boy. I have no idea why the hell this dude thinks his pussy is worth $100 million. And I'm not normally one to victim shame, but I'm going to do it all day long because this dude has like 16 convictions for sexual offenses against other people. So it's all about that dude. I'm still mad that Diddy don't got to pay that money, though, because Diddy probably have way more victims than that dude. I don't think either of them sex offending pieces of crap need to be having $100 million if I'm going to be real honest about it. I was really excited because I was hoping that the dude with the $100 million pussy, I was hoping his victims were going to sue him and then they get all the money and the person with the money wouldn't be none of these chomos. It's still Diddy, though, always. As a hater, this pisses me off. Like, as a 100%.
I love this guy. So this guy, his name is J Delay 5150. So this guy was a shot caller, I think, in like the Oregon prison system. And I watch his videos all the time. I like the guy. I'm trying to get him to come on my show. He's all about going after the chomos, and he hates all these politicians and these loser musicians who try to pretend like they're alpha males, but they're really, playing with each other at the diddler parties, trying to pretend they're something they're not, right? Trying to pretend they're like all gangster and whore. Don't say whore. Don't say whore. And they're not. They're just, they're entertainers, and they're into man love, right? Man boy love, apparently. And of course, they all support. What candidate do you think they support? Of course, they support Kamala Harris, the same party who promotes sexualization of children, K through 12, and pushing the trans agenda on your children when you're not around to know what's going on. So yeah, same exact philosophy, same system. All right, so let's get into, this is a really interesting one. So I want to share this story with you because it's pretty wild. So the Kentucky sheriff who shot a local judge in his chambers, that's what this story is about. I want to share this with you guys. Yeah, right. Vision iconic. Diddy getting diddled by Big Buck in the holding as we speak. Now, I heard, check it out. I heard that Diddy is sharing cells. I think his name is it Sam Altman? It's one of these guys. He's sharing a cell, I guess, with the billionaire guy who stole a bunch of money. Put it in the comments if you guys know what I'm talking about. But that's what I heard, is he's sharing cells with one of those guys. Now, really quick before we get into the video, Jungle Massive asks, Jungle Massive, hold on, Jungle Massive. Let me see if I can find you. Yeah. Jungle Massive asks if a closed hand slap, an open hand slap is a battery. And if so, what kind of battery? Oh, you're welcome. Hey, man, you don't have to thank me for my service, Jungle Massive. Being a Marine is something I always wanted to be ever since, because my dad was. And to me, I believe it's your duty to serve your country. So it's no reason to thank me. It's just part of your duty. The problem is the people running where they send the military. Those are the people I have problems with. They lied about Gulf of Tonkin. They lied about WMDs. And we know it's just a bunch of big money people, military industrial complex. So my love is for my fellow Marines and my brothers who I served alongside, and that flag, because that flag represents all the fallen Marines in history. And so that's why I love the American flag, the non-gold fringed one, of course, guys. So you don't have to thank me. But yeah, an open hand slap is a battery, and it depends on the gravity of the slap. I mean, the cop who falsely arrested me was doing the open hand trying to pop my eardrums. What an asshole, right? Literally trying to pop my eardrums, both of them, while he had one of my arms behind my back. While I kept shouting, I'm in compliance. I'm in compliance. Why are you striking me, sir? And there were like 50 people around watching. That's before they had cell phone cameras. But I got one of my Marine buddies came out with his wife within 20 minutes of me calling from the jail. First call I made. and they were getting sworn verified statements from every witness at that scene. That's why I'm telling you guys, Marines are legit, man, because we don't just talk, we do. We promise somebody something and shake their hand, we're going to do it. And so that's another reason why I'm telling you, man, you got to form parallel systems with like-minded people, because there's going to be a time when you need help or your friends need help, and you've got to be able to rely on each other. So now let's get back into this story. This had to do with a Kentucky sheriff who shot a local judge in his chambers. They had exchanged cell phones just moments before he took the judge's life. So according to the Mountain Eagle, District Judge Ken Mullins and Sheriff Mickey Steins exchanged phones. When Steins was apparently unhappy with what he found, he opened fire on the judge in his chambers. Steins was previously Mullins' bailiff when he became sheriff in 2018. The two had lunch together just hours before the incident. Sheriff Steins later went to the courthouse to speak with Mullins. They then went to the judge's office where they continued their conversation. And I'll interpret this for you in a minute, okay? Because I doubt they exchanged phones. He probably said, I know what you did and I want to see your phone, or I'm just going to shoot you right now. That's what I would probably say happened. Anyways, they had a short conversation. The both men took out their cell phones and handed them to each other. Steins then got up and pulled out his gun, walked around the desk, and repeatedly shot Mullins, who passed. It is unclear what the argument was about, but an unconfirmed report claims the sheriff found out the judge had RAPED'd his daughter. And the later stories that I've heard confirm that, guys. I actually know some former law enforcement officers there, and it was pretty sad what happened. Now I'm gonna just play this for you as well. Make sure you guys can see this. You got to hand it to the Southerners, man. They're really something. Listen to this guy. Try to hold back your laughter, because this is a really serious situation.
Okay. As of right now, Kentucky State Police is still ongoing in the investigation of the shooting that took place here in Letcher County earlier this date. At this time, we can confirm that the district judge was shot and unfortunately has passed away. So as of right now, that's the new information that we have. Again, this is still an isolated incident. We do have an arrest that was made. Hopefully to have that information for you guys as we move forward. As of right now, that's all I have. But it is an isolated incident. There is no threat to the public right now.
Are you able to share names at this point?
At this time, that is the only name that we can share as we move forward and get a little more information. Hopefully
Judge looks like a diddler, doesn't he?
Guys.
Are you able to share exactly what time it happened and where in the courthouse it happened?
It did take place inside the courthouse. As far as the definitive time, I don't have that at hand. We're ready. That is something I can definitely get you later on.
Can you talk a little about the community response to what's happened here today?
Anytime a situation like this takes place, especially in a small town, it shakes the very foundation of what the town is, and this is no different. We're just hoping that it's a bad situation and we can resolve it as quickly as possible and start that process forward.
Man.
At this time, we're conducting the investigation. We're doing the best job that we can. Our hearts go out to everybody that was involved and affected by this.
Is there anything you can share about a motive yet?
As far as the motive, it's still very early stages of this investigation, and that's questions that we still have at this time that we're still trying to figure out. So hopefully as the days move forward, that's information we'll be able to find out as well. There is several witnesses, which adds to the complexity of the investigation, which means, detectives will have to interview each and every witness that was present.
Yeah. So real sad, guys. So the allegations are that cop was not the cop, but look at the judge. He looks like a typical congressman or senator, right? Or a typical attendant at a P. Diddy or a Epstein Island, right? Typical head of a ABC agency, for example, hooking up with these. Anyways, so here's the deal. If the allegations are true, that officer does have defenses, right? Because there are legal defenses, almost like temporary insanity. Like, for example, if something like that happened with me, if it was my daughter, that guy would be red mist and I'd be in prison. But it'd be justifiable. And there is a way that you could get off based on justifiable homicide and a rage, almost like temporary insanity. So if the allegations are true, all I can say is thumbs up to the cop. I mean, honestly, if the allegations are true, I mean, all he did was save the judge from getting beat up and killed in jail, basically in prison. So give me a bunch of ones if you feel the same way as me about that. Now, here's another example of battery. There are these correction officers who were sentenced for violating an inmate's civil rights in the bathroom. So I just want to give you different sort of examples of what a battery is. 7 corrections officers, including a sergeant who watched, are in trouble after the assault of a handcuffed nonviolent inmate in a prison shower room. And so I wonder what they did with the billy club, right? Yeah. So in 2024, a former Kentucky Corrections Sergeant, Eric L. Nantel, was sentenced to 84 months in prison and a further 24 months of supervised release for failing to intervene and prevent the assault of an inmate. Court documents indicated that a 48-year-old Eric Nantel was supervising a routine prison escort during his time as a sergeant at the Eastern Kentucky Correctional Complex when 3 officers assaulted the nonviolent inmate. So Nantel watched on a doorway as officers repeatedly kicked and punched the inmate in the back of the head before leaving the scene of the assault. 2 of the officers were members of the prison's internal affairs team. So internal affairs, right? The guys who investigate complaints against other officers were actually involved in the beatdown. So do you really trust internal affairs investigations? Of course not. And so the supervisors and the Kentucky State Police detectives opened an investigation within hours of the assault being reported by the inmate, said prosecutors. Eric Nantel proceeded to take part in a cover-up scheme to conceal the truth from the state police and the FBI and the Department of Corrections. Accounts from the DOJ show that the state of Kentucky found him guilty of 2 counts of obstruction of justice for misleading investigators, 1 count of making false statements to the FBI to go along with the deprivation of civil rights. 6 other officers pleaded guilty to their roles in the assault and the cover-up. Randall Dennis, 28, James Benish, 37, Jeffrey Havens, 28, were sentenced to 60, 27, and 15 months respectively for what they call an assault, because there an assault would be like a battery in California. So you kind of see the nuances between the state laws. Randy Nickel, 55, Nathan Cantrell, 33, and Derek Mays, 34, all received 1-month prison sentences and 24 months of supervised release, according to an earlier DOJ press release. 3 of these officers went on to testify against Nantel. Now, here's the deal. The officers that testify against him, they'll probably be unemployable, right? Because they're considered to be snitches. But that just tells you how bad it is, right? These are people who took an oath to uphold the Constitution. So if anything, they should be getting awards and be looked up to by the other officers. But instead, they'll be considered snitches. And that's what's saddening to me about the type of people who are serving in the police force. And now we know that certain state governments are trying to allow illegal aliens to become cops. People who don't know anything about our way of life, who could care less about our culture. They were invited up here by non-governmental organizations, given free phones, free hotels, SNAP benefits, free everything. And we all know why they were brought up here, because they're going to vote for the political party or the candidate that gave them everything for free out of your paycheck. And now they're going to go ahead and give them free health care and let them be cops. No different than the blue hats, the UN. It's basically replacing us with people who aren't even citizens, who aren't even like us, to govern us. And it's absolutely disgusting. Give me a bunch of ones if you think that that's also a form of treason. Now I'm going to show you an example of what a battery isn't. All right, so check this out. Let me make sure we got enough sound.
Hey, yo, who the fuck made the sandwich, yo? Who made the sandwich? Man, I'll fucking quit, bro. That's you that made the sandwich? Yeah, I made the fucking sandwich, This was hella good, my nigga. This was not fucking good, bro. This sandwich was amazing. Hey, yo, who the fuck made the sandwich, yo? Who made the sandwich? Man, I'll fucking quit, bro. That's you that made the sandwich? Yeah, I made the fucking sandwich, This was hella good, my nigga. This was not fucking good, bro. This sandwich was amazing. Hey, yo,
So that's an example of something that's not a battery. All right. Just so you guys know the difference. Now, I ran out of examples of snatching and stuff like that. And since I never got to finish my last video about how law enforcement officers like to plant drugs on people and get false arrests and use that to get promoted, I thought that I would share some additional clips with you about what's going on. Because sometimes, as a lawyer, I always run across these do-gooders who think, oh, cops are the greatest, thin blue line, they never do anything wrong. And look, there may be cops like that. I haven't met any. I've met maybe a couple who are whistleblowers. But I want you to understand something, guys. What you hear on CNN, ABC, Fox, whatever, that's controlled opposition. It's not truth. It's propaganda. It's nonsense. So that's where you get the straight scoop from me, because I'm not being sponsored by anybody but you. That's it. I don't answer to advertisers. But let's take a look, and you guys will get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Led to one deputy's downfall. Eric?
Yeah, Wendy, that deputy's name is Stephen LeBlanc. He'd worked here at the Pasco Sheriff's Office for less than 2 years. Investigators say he was targeting a Newport Richie man and crossed the line.
Do your job. Don't do our job. We'll do street justice. We don't need him.
The deputy who once patrolled this neighborhood is now out of a job and could face criminal charges. Denise Marie Rock is all for it.
I'm very excited because if you're going to be a law enforcement officer, be a law enforcement officer. Don't be a crook. Don't be a dirtbag, and fight for my rights as a citizen.
The sheriff's office is accusing Deputy Stephen LeBlanc of obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence. It relates back to a case in November when LeBlanc was arresting this man, Thomas Parisi, for spray painting a wall with anti-police sentiment.
Our information relays that LeBlanc personally would tell people, I'm going after this person. I have to go after him.
Investigators say LeBlanc had it out for Parisi, so he got drug paraphernalia from another neighborhood drug user, 2 spoons, a syringe, and a crack pipe, and put it in Parisi's bag.
No matter how much these offenders may irritate us, get under our skin, and we want to go out there and take action, we have a responsibility to take action properly.
One possible reason the deputy was targeting Parisi's spray.
We have a responsibility to not get caught when we set people up and destroy their lives because they don't like us, and we have to prove to them that we're in charge. Give me a bunch of ones if that's how you interpret what that commanding officer just said.
Painted his own trailer with the words "LeBlanc for Sheriff 2016." You think he was just sort of teasing the deputy by spray painting that on his own?
Aggravating everybody. Yeah, aggravating everybody. And do I think the deputy had it out for him? I would say absolutely, but we all did because he's a jerk.
Nevertheless, investigators say that the deputy actually changed his mind after planning that evidence and did not go through with the setup. His own body camera actually helped do him in. Live in Newport Richie, Eric Waxler, ABC Action News.
It's just crazy what's going on out there, guys. Here's another example of your friendly neighborhood drug planting officers.
What do you stop us for? What are you stopping us for? What you mean step up? What are you stopping us for? For what? I didn't serve nobody. Relax. It's a bunch of bull. I ain't serve nobody, man. You need me I'm standing in the middle of the street. My legs wide open. Walk over here.
Anybody check this compartment?
Double tap that screen, guys. Give me some likes.
That's not even freaking out. That's the weed smell right there. That's not even freaking out. No, these are little fives. She had a matching 5 weed pocket. Jacket pocket. These little small bags. Hey, I'm gonna go hot just for this recovery and everything.
I've been off because I'm obviously hiding. Nobody give Sergeant call? Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Anyways, just another example of, cops planting drugs on people caught on tape. And, what ends up happening, guys, is these guys will get recycled to another police department, in Podunk, Indiana or something. And when you allow that to happen, they just keep doing the same kind of crap. They just get recycled, like what happened to Carolina and Fort Worth. Remember that the Officer Kruger, he'd been, I believe, recycled, right? I believe he was a recycled cop. If I'm wrong, give me a bunch of twos, but give me ones if you think I'm right. And the guy face planted her, almost killed her, probably caused brain damage. And she's such a stubborn gal, man. But man, it happens all the time, guys. Here's another one that's going to blow your mind.
The officer has been removed from field duty after a David Goldstein investigation. You saw the body camera video first here on CBS 2.
And as David chooses, LAPD Chief Charlie Beck is taking action against one officer, and his staff is looking into the entire issue.
So I've reviewed the investigative report that CBS did. I found the video to raise some serious questions.
LAPD Chief Charlie Beck talking about this video that we broadcast exclusively last week, taken from an LAPD body camera that a defense attorney claims shows an officer planting this tiny bag of drugs in his client's wallet.
I did watch the broadcast, and what I saw on the tape was not dispositive in that it did not prove things one way or the other.
The officer is restricted from field duty.
Beck told the police commission this morning that one officer seen on the video has been removed from field duty, but he wouldn't tell us which one. The department has launched a personnel investigation, and because of that, he says he can't make many comments.
Because I am the final decider, I am the one that makes the decision about property rights of the officer involved, up to and including the loss of his employment. I can't draw my conclusions until I've seen the entire thing.
And what about the defense attorney's claims?
Oh yeah, he's doing his job. He's a defense attorney. I'm doing my job. I'm a police chief.
But Police Commission President Steve Soboroff had no problem responding.
Defense attorney is claiming this video proves that drugs were planted on his client. What is your response to that?
I don't believe that for a minute.
You don't
Of
believe
course
it?
not.
Sir.
Right after the officer motions to allegedly put the drugs in the wallet, he apparently activated the recording on the camera, but the previous 30 seconds was automatically saved.
Of course.
The chief announced today that the cameras have been modified to save the previous 2 minutes, giving the department more video to work with.
The chief said the timing is just a coincidence. The cameras were reset before our investigation aired. As far as his investigation, he says there's no timetable. In the
I got a
newsroom,
bridge
I'm
I want
David
to sell you.
Goldstein, CBS 2 News.
I got a bridge I want to sell you if you thinks that was a coincidence. So let me just share something with you. So these chiefs and these city planners and these city commissioners, they don't want to pay out. That's what it's all about. When they get sued, they've got to pay out for all these lawsuits. They don't want to pay. So they're just going to deny. That's what they do. Why? Because they like bonuses and pensions, and they like to enrich themselves at your expense. And that's what's sad about what's happened to this country, is that the servants have become the master. I believe we should abolish pretty much every single ABC agency, especially at the federal level, and start over from scratch. Kick out all the illegals and start living by the Constitution. We should have a limited government. Government should be the servant, not the master. We should not look up to or worship public officials. They're there for a limited purpose. Their job is to protect commerce and leave us alone. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. Now let's get into the next video. Let's make sure we got the sound that we need. Make sure you guys can see everything. And let's give it a chickadee check. Microphone check.
Testimony in court and police body camera footage blew apart a criminal case against a Buffalo man. The News 4 Investigates team not only obtained the body cam footage, but the explosive trial transcripts.
A state parole officer is now at the center of the controversy. Luca Moretti reports.
Allegations of misconduct are being leveled against a state parole officer after explosive evidence surfaces in court, resulting in the dismissal of charges.
My man, you said that wasn't your gun? How come you got 22 ammo in your room?
Parole felt that our client
wasn't fully complying with his conditions. So they came to do a home visit.
That client is Anthony Davis, seen in the red shirt, sitting with his hands cuffed behind his back.
When they were speaking to him, they say that they noticed a vial of drugs, or 2 vials, on his bed.
Attorney Nick Texedo says the search got serious and led to the discovery of a loaded .22 caliber gun in a garbage can in a common area of the rooming house on Northumberland Avenue in Buffalo.
They then searched his room.
Buffalo police were called for assistance.
Yeah, he's got a bullet right here in his room. There's a bullet right here in his room.
A .22 caliber bullet is found on Davis's TV stand in his room. That's when things start to get real interesting. And it all hinges on just a few frames of this Buffalo police body camera footage and the actions of state parole officer Eliezer Rosario.
He didn't know this was on camera.
Rosario was one of 2 state parole officers involved in the November 2020 search of Davis's room and a central figure in this eyebrow-raising case. All of it coming to a head during a jury trial last month in state Supreme Court.
And he actually ultimately, at the end of the cross-examination, admits that if he knew it was on camera, he wouldn't have done it, and he certainly wouldn't have lied about it.
The police body cam footage proved to be a bombshell, Perry Mason moment during Davis's trial for gun and drug possession charges.
On the very bottom corner is when you see a little blue hand come in and drop an ID card.
Attorney Sean Kelly,
my spidey senses just went off,
is the one who spotted the few frames of video the night before the trial was set to start. Both Kelly and Texedo represented Davis as assigned counsel. At the time of the search, Davis was on parole following a drug conviction, his attorneys tell us. They say at one point, Davis weighed the possibility of taking a plea rather than risking the possibility of a double-digit prison sentence.
And when it appears as though the evidence is stacked up against you, until we find this 1 in a million needle in a haystack, where's
How many times has this happened before?
I mean, when I talked to him about going to trial as opposed to taking a plea, we didn't have that.
Rosario, the state parole officer wearing blue gloves in the video, walks over and takes a picture of the bullet with his cell phone. And then seconds later, you see his blue gloved hand come into frame holding Davis's state corrections ID badge.
So he submits 2 photographs into evidence of the same TV stand. One is with the bullet without the prison ID. One is with the bullet with the prison ID.
News 4 Investigates obtained copies of both photographs. You can even hear Rosario on the body cam footage talking about the ID badge next to the bullet.
How about that? ID with the gun.
In a supporting deposition signed by Rosario, he states that 1 round of ammunition was located on a TV stand in plain view, and that next to the round was Davis's state corrections ID card.
That supporting deposition, if he tried to say that wasn't his signature, in one of the body cams, we actually see him handing that supporting deposition to the head officer at the scene.
During cross-examination at trial, Rosario is asked about this by Texedo, Davis's attorney. Question: it was a lie that the bullet was right next to his New York State Department of Corrections ID card, right? Yes. Answer: yes. Question: because it wasn't originally there, right? Correct? Answer: yes. Question: until you put the card there, right? Answer: yes.
In my opinion, it's really a miscalculation by the officer, even if he's prone to planting evidence, because the prison ID didn't help him much. The bullet's already in the bedroom, and it's a .22 caliber bullet, just like the .22 caliber pistol. The ID to them was just a cherry on top, I guess.
Again, Texedo drills down during cross-examination of Rosario during the trial last month. Question: but since you thought it wasn't being recorded, you planted evidence next to the bullet, right? Let's call it what it is. Is that what you did? Answer: yes, I put the ID there. Yes. Question: and then you swore in documents that you found the ID there, right? Answer: yes.
Because parole didn't have body cameras, we didn't have actual footage of, from himself doing these actions. But thank God Buffalo police had their body cams rolling.
The State Department of Corrections, which oversees the parole system, tells News 4 investigates that based off the misconduct allegations, an internal investigation was immediately launched, and that Rosario has been placed on administrative leave pending the investigation. Rosario declined comment when
Always film
contacted by
everything.
News 4 Investigates by phone. According to a spokesperson for Erie County District Attorney John Flynn,
Insane.
the matter is being sent to the state police for investigation, and the DA's office is requesting a special prosecutor be appointed. Luke Moretti, News 4.
Always, always, always film everything, guys. Any interaction you have with law enforcement, you have to film it. In fact, I'm working a deal right now with a company that sells surveillance systems for your vehicles that gives you 360-degree surveillance. I'm going to be having them, I'm going to work with these guys so they can come on my show and offer it to my members at a discount. That way, when you get pulled over, you'll have all that surveillance. And we're also working on some technology that automatically launches a drone from your vehicle as soon as you're pulled over to give you 360-degree top-down filming. The only issue is we're running into some compliance issues. Every state has different rules when it comes to these systems, but you have to film every interaction you have with law enforcement. These people, there's so many bad cops, there's so many unscrupulous officers out there that you're literally putting your life on the line every time you have any kind of interaction with law enforcement. And so always film everything. Obviously, don't get pulled over. That's the first step. But if you do, you keep your mouth shut. And again, if the officer wants to hand you your license back, let him drop it. Don't even put your hand on it, because that they could try to accuse you of snatching of a battery and try to arrest you. There's so many bad police out there now, guys, especially because departments are having such a hard time finding officers. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, and these are the kind of guys you end up with. Let's take a look at this one.
12 News investigation. The case against 3 accused killers is up in the air in Kenosha after a bombshell. A Kenosha police officer admits planting evidence in the case. As 12 News' Colleen Henry investigates, any case the officer worked is now in jeopardy.
A bombshell here in Judge Schrader's courtroom. A former police officer took the stand and admitted he planted evidence in a homicide case against 3 Kenosha men.
I mean, did your jaw drop when you heard this?
Well, it certainly did. It really strikes at the heart of the criminal justice system, and it should be a concern to everybody.
So many haven't been caught.
The testimony came in the trial of
This is
Joseph
nothing.
Bradley.
This is
He,
the
Brandon
tip of the
Horak, and
iceberg,
Marquise
guys.
Tibbs are charged with killing a man in a drug deal. The other 2 had already entered pleas. Tibbs' lawyer says they didn't know the case involved a dirty cop.
These are facts that should have been known to the defendant Tibbs long before he entered his plea.
The law requires prosecutors to reveal such information. Terry Rose says he learned about it from another suspect's lawyer, not the DA. DA Robert Zaff declined to talk to 12 News.
I wonder why.
But he doesn't have any comment yet because the case is pending.
By the way, I have an Ohio lawyer coming on my show, I think either this weekend or next week. We're going to expose Kamala Harris. Remember, she was a prosecutor. And we're going to expose her refusal to prosecute the Catholic Church. And we're going to talk about the Brady laws. And we're going to talk about all these backroom deals that she did. She's probably one of the dirtiest prosecutors, one of the dirtiest politicians this country has ever known. And we're going to expose her on my show, and we've got the goods on her. The same stuff that Biden had on her. Remember in his debates with her, how this cackler ever even got into the unelected, right? Unelected cackler. Somehow or another, she was installed by the global elites, and a lot of people say that she's like a puppet of Barry Soetoro, the former president, and just unbelievable. So we're going to talk about that. But typical prosecutors are power-hungry individuals. Right. And they get promoted based on getting convictions. Right. Or they get promoted based upon not getting convictions if it's a potential political donor, like the Catholic Church, for example. We're going to teach you a lot of stuff on my show that you'll never get from anywhere else because you can't buy me. I'm not somebody who can be purchased by BlackRock or these pharmaceutical companies that give these guys billions of dollars to destroy you and your family. I'm not that guy. I'm going to give you the straight scoop. If it's a Republican or a Democrat, I don't care. It's all a uniparty system as far as I'm concerned, and they hate you, and all they care about is power, in my opinion. Let's keep going.
Kenosha's police chief says he told the prosecutor shortly after he learned Officer Kyle Bars admitted planting an ID and a bullet in the case.
When I met with the DA, we talked about the attorneys, the cases, and full disclosure. So, you know, what occurred, I can't tell you that.
Chief John Morrissey says Bars quit the night before he was to be interrogated about the case. Bars' actions could jeopardize other cases he worked on.
We pulled all of the cases that he did evidence work on to see what those cases
I'll give him a shout out. Let's give me a second.
Was.
Now, the cases will now go back to court as lawyers challenge the outcomes given the officers' admissions. They'll also investigate whether the DA violated rules about sharing information like this. And this isn't the first time, Kat, that DA Robert Zaff has faced this issue. 30 years ago, Wisconsin Supreme Court reprimanded him for, quote, repeated failures in sharing information with defense lawyers. And he had no comment today on this case. All right. Thanks.
All right. So real quick, guys, that's just another example, you know, corrupt prosecutors, all these people, all they care about. What's the AOC? She goes into Congress, make a $200,000 a year salary from being a bartender, right? And now she's worth over $20 million. I mean, are you kidding me? So we, you know, that's criminal. I mean, these people aren't there for us. They're there for the money. That's what it's all about. It's money and power. Now, I want you guys to take a look at Brick Jonesy's channel tonight. Please, all my loyal followers, besides give me a double tap that screen right now to give me a like for this video. Please check out Letzo TVO. Letzo TVO is a good, solid dude. He's a former Navy man. And I got a lot of respect for him. He flew all the way to Nevada. And we met during Chili de Castro's trial, or the sentencing. I think it was either sentencing or trial, or to try. I can't remember exactly what the hearing was about, but we met there, and super good guy. I couldn't believe it, you know, because I'm a short dude. I'm only like 5'6". I work out, so I'm in shape. I think I'm a pretty legit dude. I'm like looking up, going, "Holy shit, you're Letzo TVO," and he's like, "I thought you'd be taller." You look bigger on TV, I think he said. It's hilarious. It was just classic. But Letzo TVO is a super legit American patriot, guys. I expect all of you guys, if you support me, to support him and to support Brick Jonesy. He put a link in the sidebar to Brick Jonesy's channel. Brick Jonesy's been doing a lot of really good cop watch videos exposing corruption. Live videos. He's putting a lot of work into it, man, going out there and exposing corruption, just like BZ Watchdog's doing. So please, guys, this show is going to be over in a couple of minutes, Letzo TVO. So check out Brick after the live. And I'll be cutting out Letzo TVO. What time is his show coming on so I can try to wrap this up? Because I'll go and join as well. But check out Brick. He's got some good stuff. True patriot, loves his country just like me. And then I'll just do one more video here, I think. Let me see if I got the other one. I'll do two more videos, a real short. And we'll go from there, all right? Let me make sure you guys can see this bad chicken, as Chili would say. Let's check it out.
Have you ever seen this before?
No. No, what is that?
Let's hang out with Deputy Jackson here.
Got to turn that sound on, or we're going to get in trouble for stealing someone's sound. So this guy routinely stops drivers, pulled this woman over for a faulty brake light. His body cam is pointed away when he finds the meth. Finds them. Look at that. Puts it in a spoon.
All right, the deputy asked if he could search in my truck. I told him, yes, he may search in my truck. I'm sitting on the bumper right now. He goes in the passenger side. He sees, I don't know, God knows what. He goes around to the other side, going on open, and he comes back with a spoon, which is what I use to eat my yogurt with. And in the spoon, there is laying a little bitty, like, I guess, a little tiny bag. He says it tests positive for methamphetamine. So I guess I'm going to go to jail. And it damn sure ain't mine.
Check him out. He's
Nobody's
tweaking.
been in my truck but me.
This dude is tweaking. This cop is tweaking. I showed you guys this video before. This guy ended up getting busted, getting taken out. But still, I mean, that's the guy. That's one of the guys who got caught. You guys have no idea. These guys get promoted based on making these busts, right? And this dude's sitting here tweaking, dropping a little bit of meth into this spoon, right? It's just unbelievable, guys. This is going on all over the world, all over the country, and no one's doing really much about it. No one's really doing much about it. Yeah, they catch the bad guys allegedly, but how many of the bad guys have they not caught? Because this guy obviously didn't have much of an IQ. Just imagine the guys that have a high IQ. Those guys are probably still out and doing this to people and not getting caught. Give me a bunch of ones if you agree with that. We'll do this one last video, and then I'll thank everybody for joining me tonight after this.
I'm not trying to get in a debate with the law. I'm trying to get you to honor your oath to the United States Constitution and uphold the residents' constitutional rights.
I am. You're not.
No, you work for a man that was arrested for police brutality, official misconduct, perjury, has been caught making racial slurs and depositions. That's who you work for. I'm not trying to get in a debate with the law. I'm trying to get you to honor your oath to the United States Constitution and uphold the residents' constitutional rights.
I am. You're not.
No, you work for a man that was arrested for police brutality, official misconduct, perjury, has been caught making racial slurs and depositions. That's who you work for. I'm not trying to get in a debate with the law. I'm trying to get you to honor your oath to the United States Constitution and uphold the residents' constitutional rights.
I am. You're not.
No, you work for a man that was arrested for police brutality, official misconduct, perjury, has been caught making racial slurs and depositions. That's who you work for. I'm not trying to get in a debate with the law. I'm trying to get you to honor your oath to the United States Constitution and uphold.
So you guys kind of get it. So that's pretty much the show for tonight. Let me just do my salutations to everybody and make sure that you guys all check out Brick Jonesy's channel. Everybody make sure to like and subscribe to Brick Jonesy's channel as well and give him some support. I'm trying to look at some of the comments. Now, Raya Hoot Serious Audits is asking for Eline's email. If you want to get my email, get a hold of Cops are 5150 or Rami or BZ Watchdog. I don't give it out online because I have so many haters and people who just try to spam me. So, I'll do my best to get in touch with you. Keep in mind, guys, that this is separate and apart from my work as a personal injury attorney at my firm that I work for. And I do freelance work, to try to make extra money because, when Newsom destroyed California's economy during the lockdowns, our firm almost went under. We'd invested millions of dollars in billboard ads and all of a sudden there were no cars on the road. So it really killed us and I lost a lot of employees and I'm still trying to recover. So if there's, look, if you guys have a car accident case, a motorcycle accident case in Texas or California, that's my bread and butter. That's how I'm able to support this channel right now. Other than that, it's like super chats or you all getting a copy of my book for the digital version of this book, the ebook version of this, My Journey to Becoming a Practicing Lawyer with No Law Degree or Undergrad. You can learn about my journey and you can support me that way. But other than that, it's been real hard, guys. So I just don't have a whole lot of time to respond to people right away. But I will reach back out to y'all because I care about you guys. And anybody who wants to come on as a guest, who has videos to share with me of any kind of police brutality or basically anything that has to do with government abuse, I'd love to have you on the show and talk to you about your story and expose the corruption that's going on all across this country at lightning speed. Now, I do see, a lot of comments that get a little political. Some people support Camel Toe, some people support Orange Man. Honestly, none of that really matters to me. If you're on my show, that means that you support the constitutional republic, and I want to have y'all here as guests. I don't want you to guys, hopefully not to get in a bunch of political comments or infighting, because we all need to love one another and put our politics aside when we're part of Team MPE. And so I just would hope that y'all would do that. We've got a bunch of new mods that I've been trying to christen into the show. Hopefully y'all are happy with your wrenches. Make sure to support Brick Jonesy's channel. Again, take a look at the audit that Let's OTVO put in the sidebar. And Miss Constitutional Rights, I really want to thank you for coming and coming back. I was really bummed out when you left months back when I was trying to support Chile. And I just hope that y'all understand that it's nothing personal when I can't handle like millions of emails and text messages all day long. But I do care about you and I love my country and I love America and I love the Republic. So just keep that in mind. Mama Lion, thanks for showing up. Jeff, thanks again, Jeff, as always, for your support. What's the matter? You got your wrench. I love it. And Kinetic Customs and Racing, rubber side down. Arrgh! And Kurt Bronson, as always, thank you so much. And Let's OTVO. Yeah, Kurt. Yeah. If you guys need to get a hold of me, you know how to get a hold of me. And then Let's OTVO also has access to my email. And it's just that I need, my few good, loyal people that have been with me forever to kind of screen stuff out, because if it's somebody who's just a psychopath or a crazy person, I don't want them emailing me. And I'm not saying that you guys are, but my friends can help filter out stuff to make sure that we can utilize my time as best as possible, so I can give you more time on the air. And then Kay Coots, who's responsible for qualified immunity? Well, obviously the courts, but ultimately it's the politicians who appointed those judges that made that happen. And then now, Raya Hoot Serious Audits. If you're on my website, there are contact forms on there. So just put in your message that you saw me on my YouTube channel. That way, my secretary knows to divert that away from the law firm back to my personal stuff, because my law firm doesn't really handle this kind of stuff. We do personal injury, we do car accidents, motorcycle accidents. I helped co-author the original Cruise Ship Safety Act with Kendall Carver of International Cruise Victims. I helped him draft that draft legislation that ultimately was then drafted by politicians. But so that's kind of, where I'm at. I have basically personal injury, international maritime law, cruise ship law, and primarily, most of my bread and butter is motorcyclists. Most motorcycle riders find me because they see that I'm a former Marine, and they don't like hiring people. They hate lawyers, but they give me a pass because they know that I was in the Corps. And so most of my cases are from bikers, 1%ers, MC club members. I'm not going to name the names of the 1%ers who I've represented, because that's not how I roll. But I'm just going to say that those are the kind of people that I identify with. People who, look, when there's so many laws that everything's illegal, everyone becomes an outlaw. And so most of my clients recognize that that's my mentality as well. So other than that, if it's something that has to do with the show, if it's police brutality, whatever, my buddy Alan Beck and I can help you with those cases, police brutality cases, torture, cuff cases. But again, my bread and butter is car accidents, big rig truck accidents. Commercial truck drivers hire me, and people who have been killed or injured by big rig trucks. And I do a lot of wrongful death cases. So that's kind of what I do. This other stuff is kind of outside the scope. Stuff that I do online really doesn't have a whole lot to do with what I practice. It's because this is I feel spiritually called to help you people who have been abused by the government. And that's why I'm here. I don't make money off this channel. I probably made a couple $100 a month from videos. And that basically doesn't even come close to covering my time, because this is a labor of love. So keep that in mind. And you're welcome, Miss Constitutional Rights, and Christopher. Thank you for your support. I do appreciate that. OCTAF, right? Overturned civil asset forfeiture. Overturned civil asset forfeiture. Give me a bunch of OTCAFs in the sidebar before we close the show. And Just Willie got your wrench. Let me see. Who diddy dum dum diddy do? Let's OTVO. Awesome. Mama Lion, thank you for supporting me again. Alex Green, thanks for your support. 10th Man, thanks for coming on the show and sticking it out with me. And Raya Hoot Serious Audits. Yeah, man, I'm all about police audits and government accountability operations. Roger Lane, thank you for supporting my channel. Age Go, thank you for your support. Kay Coates, again, thank you for your support. And I think I got y'all. I think I got everybody. Baca Designs, Baca Designs, thank you for your support as well. Other than that, unless you guys have any questions, please go over to Brick Jonesy's channel. Let's OTVO, give me one more link to Brick's channel so people can see it in the sidebar. Click on that link, guys, that he's going to share with you in the sidebar. If I share links, it doesn't work because I'm sharing them through StreamYard, so they don't generally work out. But I'm all about helping you guys, and I don't know if I'll be with you all tomorrow. I'm pretty burned out, to be honest. But the one way you could help me is to go to my YouTube channel. can pick up a digital version of my ebook, and I'll just share really quick with you on the screen what that looks like so you can know where you're going. So hopefully you can see this. Yeah. So go to my YouTube page where it says Michael Eline Injury Attorney right there, and you just click on more and then scroll down. You'll see the links to my personal blog. You'll see the links to my law firm, and you'll see the link to my PayPal. Now, for some reason, my personal blog's not showing my avatar. Let me make sure okay. So this is my personal website. I've got some pretty cool stuff on here. A lot of you guys don't know that I knew Jacques Littlefield, and he rebuilt the Panther, the German Panther tank. So that's the tank, and I was able to go and sit up in the turret and go inside and mess around when nobody was looking. And I've got a lot of cool stuff on my personal website about the history of common law history, the bar exams, the Organic Act of 1871, a bunch of cool stuff. Let me see. I'll show you some of it really quick. You see, there's the Panther. And of course, that's Photoshop right there with me grabbing the barrel, but this is all real. That's really me sitting inside the Jacques Littlefield Panther. And a couple of months after this picture was taken, Jacques passed away from cancer. And he was buried, I believe, on the back. He was his coffin was put on the back of a chieftain tank that he had rebuilt. And he was taken up to his burial site on this big, huge, sprawling estate where I got to see all these tanks. And then I've got a bunch of cool stuff. I've got some stuff about the history of the bar exams, the Organic Act of 1871. A lot of cool stuff, stuff about sovereign citizens, about how Alex Jones was set up by the CIA and they caught that live on camera, and about whether or not he could sue the CIA. So that's my personal stuff, right? It's apart from my law firm. So, what I do on this channel doesn't necessarily have anything to do with my partners or my associates at my firm. This is just personal stuff. It's a labor of love, holding the government accountable and having a little bit of fun on some rebuilt German Panther tanks. Take another look at that cool tank, man. That is literally a rebuilt German Panther tank. It was rescued from a pond, a lake in Poland. And Jacques went ahead and rebuilt that tank, a running German Panther tank. Awesome tank, man. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm into. And maybe one of these days I'll share some other pictures of the tanks, because I got hundreds of pictures of tanks, and I love tanks. That's out of all the military equipment, I just love tanks. Even though I would have never served as a tanker, I was an infantryman. I did not want to be inside of a tank. But anyways, that's kind of where it's at. So guys, in closing, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to save, because we never know when the thought police are going to take down this channel. And everybody make sure to support Let's TVO's friend, Brick Jonesy. Check out his channel after this. And Semper Fi, do or die, guys. I'll talk to you soon.